Welcome to the Story of Liberty. This is Jenna Featherstone. The Founding Fathers had 28 fundamental beliefs or principles that they believed would help the American people realize peace, prosperity, and freedom. These 28 principles are also called the 28 Principles of Liberty. These beliefs and principles have given man more progress in the last 200 years than over the last 5,000 years combined. At one time or another, we have gone over every one of these principles at the Story of Liberty, and you can find those videos at our website, thestoryofliberty.net. Principle 1. The only reliable basis for sound government and just human relations is natural law. Natural law is God's law. There are certain laws which govern the entire universe, and as Thomas Jefferson said in the Declaration of Independence, these are the laws which govern the affairs of men, which are the laws of nature, and nature's God. Principle 2. A free people cannot survive under a republican constitution unless they remain virtuous and morally strong. Benjamin Franklin stated, "Only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters." Principle 3. The most promising method of securing a virtuous people is to elect virtuous leaders. Samuel Adams stated, "Neither the wisest constitution nor the wisest laws will secure the liberty and happiness of a people whose manners are morally corrupt. He therefore is the truest friend of liberty, of his country, who tries most to promote its virtue, and who will not suffer a man to be chosen unto any office of power and trust who is not a wise and virtuous man." Principle 4. Without religion, the government of a free people cannot be maintained. George Washington famously stated, "Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports, and let us, with caution, indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion." The fifth principle. All things are created by God. Therefore, upon him all mankind are equally dependent, and to him they are equally responsible. The Founding Fathers felt a person who boasted he or she was an atheist had just simply failed to apply his or her divine capacity for reason and observation. Principle 6. All mankind are equal. The Founders knew this in three ways. We are equal before God, equal before the law, and equal in our rights. Principle 7. The proper role of government is to protect equal rights, not provide equal things. The Founders recognized that the people cannot delegate to their government any power except that which they have lawful right to exercise themselves. Principle 8. Mankind are endowed by God with certain unalienable rights. William Blackstone stated, "Those rights, then, which God in nature has established, and are therefore called natural rights, such as life and liberty, need not the aid of human laws to be more effectually invested in every man than they are. Neither do they receive any additional strength when declared by the state laws as inviolable. On the contrary, no human legislation has power to abridge or destroy them, unless the owner of the right shall himself commit some act that amounts to forfeit." Principle 9. To protect human rights, God has revealed a code of divine law. Principle 10. The God-given right to govern is vested in the sovereign authority of the whole people. The fabric of the American empire ought to rest on the solid basis of the consent of the people. The streams of national power ought to flow immediately from that pure, original fountain of all legislative authority. Alexander Hamilton. Principle 11. The majority of the people may alter or abolish a government which has become tyrannical. Thomas Jefferson stated in the Declaration of Independence, "Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for like causes, but when a long train of abuses, a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Principle 12. The United States of America shall be a republic. Principle 13. A constitution should protect the people from the frailties of their rulers. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls of government would be necessary. But lacking these, you must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself. James Madison. Principle 14. Life and liberty are secure only as long as the rights of property are secure. John Locke reasoned that God gave the earth and everything in it to the whole human family as a gift. Therefore, the land and the sea and the acorns in the forest, the deer feeding in the meadow belong to everyone in common. However, the moment someone takes the trouble to change something from its original state of nature, that person has added his ingenuity or labor to make that change. Herein lies the secret to the origin of property rights. Principle 15. The highest level of prosperity occurs when there is a free market and a minimum of government regulations. Prosperity depends on 4 fundamental liberties, which we have talked about before on the story of liberty. The freedom to try, the freedom to buy, the freedom to sell, and the freedom to fail. Principle 16. The government should be separated into 3 branches. As you've learned before on the story of liberty, the 3 branches of government came from Isaiah 33:22. For the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king. It is he who will save us. Principle 17. A system of checks and balances should be adopted to prevent the abuse of power by the different branches of government. James Madison stated, "It will not be denied that power is of an encroaching nature and that it ought to be effectually restrained from passing the limits assigned to it." Principle 18. The unalienable rights of the people are most likely to be preserved if the principles of the government are set forth in a written constitution. The only weaknesses which the United States has sustained have appeared because we have allowed corruption to creep in, and we have not obeyed the Constitution. Principle 19. Only a limited and carefully defined powers should be delegated to government, all others being retained by the people. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectfully, or to the people. Principle 20. Efficiency and dispatch require that the government operate according to the will of the majority, but constitutional provisions must be made to protect the rights of the minority. Principle 21. Strong local self-government is the keystone to preserving human freedom. Thomas Jefferson stated, "The way to have a good and safe government is not to trust it all to one, but to divide it among the many, distributing to everyone exactly the functions he is competent to perform best." Principle 22. A free people should be governed by law and not by the whims of men. John Locke stated, "The end of law is not to abolish or retain, but to preserve and enlarge freedom. For in all the states of created beings, capable of laws, where there is no law, there is no freedom. For liberty is to be free from restraint and violence of others, which cannot be where there is no law." Principle 23. A free society cannot survive as a republic without a broad program of general education. Principle 24. A free people will not survive unless they stay strong. George Washington stated, "To be prepared for war is one of the most effectual means of preserving peace." Principle 25. Peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations, entangling alliances with none. This was stated by Thomas Jefferson in his first inaugural address. Principle 26. The core unit which determines the strength of any society is the family. Therefore, the government should foster and protect its integrity. Alex de Tocqueville stated, "There is currently no country in the world where the tie of marriage is more respected than in America, or where conjugal happiness is more highly or worthily appreciated." Principle 27. The burden of debt is as destructive to human freedom as conquest. Thomas Jefferson stated, "We are bound to defray expenses of the war within our own time, and are unauthorized to burden posterity with them. We shall all consider ourselves morally bound to pay for them ourselves, and consequently within the life expectancy of the majority." Principle 28. The United States has a manifest destiny to eventually become a glorious example of God's law under a restored constitution that will inspire the entire human race. The founders knew they were on a divine mission. Their great disappointment was that it didn't all come to pass in their day, but they knew that someday it would. John Adams wrote, "I will always consider the settlement of America with reverence and wonder. At the opening of the grand scene and design and providence for the illumination of the ignorant, and the emancipation of the slavish part of all mankind all over the earth." The sources for this material have come from over 150 volumes of the Founding Fathers' original writings, letters, minutes, and biographies. They were put into the 5,000-year leap, published by the National Center of Constitutional Studies in 1981. Let's never forget the 28 Principles of Liberty.